Next up, it's going to be my friend Hamish Guthrie. He's bringing over 25 years experience in the underground and open pit mining, spanning operational leadership, strategic planning, and consulting. He has worked across gold, nickel, coal, iron ore, and more. The expertise in mine optimization, design, feasibility studies, and operation reviews. Welcome, my man, Hamish.
Good luck. Thanks, guys. Good afternoon. I'm pleased to present StopeMAX. StopeMAX is an underground strategic mining tool in development with AMS and Datamine and Snowden Optiro have been lucky to help trial it with live consulting real-life cases. So I'll sort of just take you through what is StopeMAX and how could it fit in. So a bit of an overview. Quickly just take you through the history of MSO, Mine Shape Optimizer, to StopeMAX. The updates with MSO, which allows for StopeMAX to work. What is StopeMAX? And some worked examples on how we've been using it. So very keen to get some feedback on people's thoughts on the application in the mining industry. And then development and feedback. So some history. I suppose just a show of hands, who's familiar with MSO, sort of seen it in planning? So Mine Shape Optimizer, basically all your underground mines are running it to auto-generate underground inventories and the starting point to mine planning. So it was actually 2011. Also, show of hands, has anyone designed an underground mine without MSO? Yeah, quite an involved process and probably a lot of material left in the ground. So and maybe not as many scenarios run. So and that sort of takes us to 2016, where Datamine acquires AMS and MSO. So now part of the broader package, and really 2022 to date, StopeMAX has been that sort of natural progression of MSO and all the strength that brings to the underground planning space into a strategic tool. And I'll sort of take you through some of that detail. So current practice, and this probably does differ through a lot of mines, but as you can see there from the diagram, there's a lot of work in series, so a lot of that commentary sort of work done, maybe not in silos, but in steps, making decisions, working to the next. And it's a fairly involved process to work through a lot of scenarios. A lot of the industry is still working on a single cutoff. That's what we understand, a single sort of metal price, and then refreshing that with scenarios. But it's normally an iterative step where a full design is required. We're working through a full activity-based schedule, cash flow, and sort of figuring out what the next steps are, go through again. And I'm happy for you to challenge me on that. There's a lot of work has been done in this space, but we'll see how it compares to what potentially StopeMAX has got to offer in this space. So the StopeMAX solution, I guess it's trying to make an integrated process where you've got, as that starting point, all the stope optimization data, with a range of cutoff grades and block model inputs. Starting with a conceptual design, so you're not trying to lock in a detailed plan design just yet, and having sort of a rule-based scenario and constraints to form, or I guess to assess, I guess, an optimal result. And I'll try to go through some of that detail. So I guess what is StopeMAX on a page? This is just summarising. MSO is really the overarching input. It's not trying to lock in a design too early, but it's making some decisions on decline position for your scenarios, but also taking through, I guess, the MSO providing the inventory, but taking it through to mine schedules, financials, and being able to work cut-off grade theories or strategies all the way from the start to the finish. So just going into a bit more detail, what do we need to make StopeMAX work? A big part is the latest version of the MSO, so version 6. And I'll just take you through what is that different from the earlier versions. The big items there are nested cutoffs. So I'll show you how that looks. The new MSO also comes with ore drives included in the stopes. So this is quite important on when material is actually being sent to the mill. The timing of your development, depleting through levels can't be done at the same time as the stope. So it's honouring that natural dependency. The latest MSO also comes with I guess the complexity of underground is that you don't just have a top-down gravity rule as we like in open pits. So it also has a lot of construction strings that come with it to guide which stopes, in what order can you mine them in terms of top-down, lateral. So I'll take you through some of the strings that generates. To get StopeMAX up and running, we have to provide a conceptual decline, level layout, but it doesn't need to be detailed. So I'll just take you through how we're giving StopeMAX just enough so that it can work out a connected network and sequence, but not too much that you're spending hours designing a mine before you've figured out how big the mine needs to be. And then scheduling parameters, which we'll need to, I guess, tweak as we run different scenarios or constraints. So just taking you through the latest MSO that is in development to couple with StopeMAX. I mentioned the nested cutoff grades. I'll just show how that works. It's another one in the past. We will run lots of different cutoff grades, but the difference here is that these will actually be like an onion skin and nested. So probably more honouring how you'd go from a high cutoff grade to a low grade envelope. As mentioned, it comes with development solids. So that now gets incorporated into those MSO runs. It depletes the inventory from those stopes and it's got a series of constructions strings to help with those auto dependencies. Just taking you through the nested MSOs. It's probably not the best example because this mine didn't move around too much with different cutoff grades. But what we'd expect to see is that you'll also see along strike, stopes would drop off with higher cutoff grades, as well as a bit of an onion skin effect in the cross section there, where stopes would reduce in widths, especially if you had a great big massive ore body that has a lot of grade variation. And there's an example of some of the data that we've got there, just how much does that resource move based on the different cutoff grades at the start of the process. The ore drives, so the new tool, new MSO will create both longitudinal drives, so along the strike of the ore body, and also transverse. So you can have those development strings set up during the MSO process. And then sort of jumping into once the MSOs are done, we jump into the StopeMAX. And StopeMAX is set up into sort of 4 main steps. So connect, that's where you're supplying all the data, the MSOs, the conceptual strings, and there's some smarts there on how to join those all together. Build is where you can take all of the block model data that you've brought along with the MSOs, as well as some calculations, just simple calculations to work out your economic drivers to your stopes, but not limited to just cutoff grades. You could carry material types, resource categories, probabilities through. Network is then to create a maximum value network. So that'll drop stopes that don't pay for the development that it needs for the development to access them. I'll take you through that step, and scheduling. So you know, based on all the rules, and there's quite a bit of detail that's gone into zone by zone, making sure that areas don't stop and then just start again. So a lot of development in that space. And an important part is the outputs, both physicals, cash flows, and a mining animation, so that you can check your results. So starting at the connect step, so sort of back to keeping a fairly simple concept, that I guess you're giving it enough so that it can build an underground mine, so a decline, and potentially either a footwall drive or just for a longitudinal method, an access point, and it will do the connections for you. So here's an example here. The black string is the string that we've provided. Again, you're trying to replicate meters and time to access the ore body, so it doesn't need to be perfect. And to the left there, sorry, you're right. The green, it's where it's being able to connect everything together. You're trying to capture everything, because then it will do a connected network to drop out areas that don't pay for them, the development. So that network step. So during the build step, you've built in the economics. So the network has now got the economics of the stopes, and it's also got a cost there for the development. So here's an example where on your left, you've got a conceptual design that covers everything that's going to point at all the MSO stope shapes. And then depending on some of the rules, whether you've gone a single decline, a double decline, it's managed to choose what provides the highest cash flow. So we haven't done any schedules just yet, but it's giving you a range of options that then you can then take through to doing some schedules and some cash flows. And fairly instantaneous too, a very quick processing time. I touched on stope removal. So you can probably see there in pink are all the areas that, based on the development cost and the revenue of each of those stopes, it's automatically dropped them out. That itself can be quite a time-consuming process. It's just dropping out MSO stopes that aren't economic, is running a ruler over every single one sometimes. This tool does it in one pass. And then in terms of outputs, it's very important that you can see what is the cash flows and the physicals that the tool is providing. So just some examples there of tonnes, development meters, cash flows and NPVs. But that's not limited to, it's really whatever you've carried through from the block model through to the MSOs and then into StopeMAX. So there's not a limitation on what you can take through to your final sort of reports. And then a key part is the animation, so just provide that check. I can that run for me. Oh, there we go. So it just generates a Datamine file of all the I guess the concept design, the MSOs with a period, so that you can animate that very quickly. There's just an example there, and you can run that for all the different scenarios. Just run through some of the scenarios that you might run with StopeMAX. In terms of functionality, it's just to show you that based on those sort of 4 main steps, you can set up a scenario tree functionality, do a range of different schedule scenarios for some of the different settings that you set up and to build, network, and for example, so in the connect step, you might change some of the rules on how the MSOs and the development was connected. Build might be changing the metal price. You may be changing, some of those cost inputs. Network affect your development haulage costs, and schedule. So there's a whole range of rules there where you could change the sequence, whether it's top down, bottom up, how delays to different mining zones. Let's say that you had an area that you still had a exploration drill program to unlock, having a delay on that so it doesn't come too early in the schedule. Or maybe it's a ventilation constraint, so limiting how many mining areas can go at any one time. So there's quite a bit of ability there to provide constraints without sort of overriding the optimization. And quite a bit's gone into a case generator as well, so that you can very quickly run, for example, cutoff grades based on different areas. I'll show an example of that. Development rates, production targets are just some examples. So in terms of one assessment that we've done so far is assessing what is the impact of locking in a cutoff grade for the whole mine, or maybe by zone, the first image there. So there's two different cutoff grades that have been selected by StopeMAX as the optimal cutoff. Going back to all those nested cutoffs, it's selected just the single cutoff, or by level. So you can see the different colors where it's selected different cutoffs because either the value of the block or the timing of when that is in the schedule. By drive, so for a transverse mine, each of those drives you could let it choose what cutoff grade, or potentially by every stope in the mine. So it might not be a practical one to roll out to the operations team, but it at least shows you what that percent change. So some numbers there. So for that case study, there was a 4% increase in cash flow by zone, but a 10% increase if you were going to change the cutoff grade for every single stope. Just some examples. So it's always good to know what the differential is, what is the size of that prize. So yeah, we are trialing it. So there's a few things that we're sort of back and forth with AMS on how we see the tool going. The development doesn't include all your stockpiles and cuddies, so that influences two things. It's making sure that your cost of development to get, say, to each level is realistic. So if it costs you a certain dollars per meter just for the decline, then you'll have to add in extra dollars for stockpiles, etc. And also the timing to get there. So we're sort of working back and forth on what the best way to get those factors into StopeMAX. Leveling development, at the moment, it's a fairly good setup with ore drives, access development and decline. We're just working into potentially whether we need a constraint for total meters, fixed costs, and again, this is probably the same sort of story that MineMax has gone through the years as well. Just so any production shortfalls gives the ability to control those. In terms of what takes time, a large part of the work's just setting up the MSOs, and that's fairly normal. The conceptual design, just getting that balance. The end product is to get the meters and the sequence right. It's not to spend a lot of time doing the best decline design or mine design that you can at this stage. That can be improved after you sort of lock down your strategy. And there's some a functionality within StopeMAX that the heuristic runs quite quickly. If you start running in exact, then that will take a lot longer. So it's working out, are we starting to narrow in on the result we want, and then go to the more detailed optimization. and tackling more projects, so that the more projects, real life examples, the more we can improve the tool. So in discussion and summary, yeah, I guess StopeMAX is an exciting new tool. Just gives you that ability to run more scenarios in the underground space before embarking on that detailed mine planning and detailed schedules and designs and schedules. And I guess that's just some open questions for the audience. You know, in your experience, do you see this something that could condense a lot of the planning cycles that you're currently doing in the underground space? Maybe unlock some studies that maybe in the too hard basket, or just not explored to the level that you've had the tools to assess all the factors. Yes, I mean, are we do we need to move away from sort of break even cutoff grades for a lot of our mines? Is this a tool that to unlock more of a variable cutoff grade strategy? Yeah, and just your thoughts on timing in those annual planning cycles or those study planning cycles, whether this is a tool that could help. And any other feedback where you'd like to see an underground strategic mine planning tool go? Thank you.